Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets Pregame Show right here on the channel and on X. How is everybody doing on this Friday, May 9th, as the New York Mets return home finally to face the Chicago Cubs, probably one of the biggest tests of the year for the New York Mets. So make sure you hit on that like button, guys. Hit on that subscribe button, guys, and make sure you have some fun on the show and have some fun in the chat, guys. So say what's up in the chat, guys, and we'll talk all about today's game as we got Clay Holmes on the mound against Jameson Taillon. And this is a great opportunity for the New York Mets to be tested by one of the better teams in baseball. And the Chicago Cubs are right there with us. They're right there with the Phillies and Dodgers and the Padres. And these are one of the better teams in baseball. And this is a team in the Chicago Cubs that score runs. And, we're going to see one of our former top prospects in Pete Crow Armstrong that we traded for Javi Baez, and he's been outstanding for the Chicago Cubs. That's unfortunate, but the New York Mets are in first place. The New York Mets are coming off a series win against the Arizona Diamondbacks, coming off a high note on the road trip, and coming back home for 6 games against 2 teams in the NL Central. And look, when it comes to the Chicago Cubs, guys, they're a very good team, right? Their pitching has been solid. Their offense has been damn good, and it's led by Kyle Tucker. It's led by Pete Crow Armstrong. They've been outstanding. They score runs. Like, one thing they do better than probably almost every team in baseball is score runs, and that's something that the Mets pitching has to be very aware of. And they gotta hold down there, because if you're gonna make mistakes, if you're gonna walk guys, if you're gonna extend innings by making timely mistakes defensively, the Cubs will take advantage of it. This is not the Miami Marlins. This is not the St. Louis Cardinals. This isn't bad teams that you can get away with those mistakes. They will take advantage of it. And again, this is a great test for the New York Mets. Their first test was the Philadelphia Phillies earlier in the year. They swept them, right? That was their first test. This is probably a little bit bigger of a test because the Cubs, I think, at the moment are better than the Philadelphia Phillies. Even though the Phillies have played well, the Cubs have played well also. And I'm glad that the New York Mets are home. It's nice to be home. They're going to be it's going to be Blackout Friday. They're wearing their black jerseys today, so the Mets can take full advantage of the first game of the series. I think they have the pitching matchup today. I think Clay Holmes is at this point better right now than Jameson Taillon, even though Taillon has pitched pretty decent for the Cubs. Let me just double check. I thought I saw his ERA, but I thought I was looking at another pitcher as we'll be facing yesterday. It's one of their top prospect pitchers. And yeah, Taillon has a 3.86 ERA. He's been pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. And again, with Clay Holmes under a 3 ERA, you expect him to have the advantage over the New York over the Cubs and Jameson Taillon. So listen, I'm ready. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm ready for some Mets baseball. I don't know. When you have a day off, it feels like you haven't had baseball in a month. Let's go into today with a complete open mind. We know what the main problem is with the New York Mets. It is the lineup and runners in scoring position. Now, Vientos is not in the lineup. I think we all figured out why he's not in the lineup. You got Brett Beatty playing third. You got Luisano Acuna playing second base. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I'm not excited about this lineup, to be quite honest with you. But because, after 1, 2, and 3, who's excited about anybody except when you get to Luisano Acuna? Nothing. I guess you could say Tyrone Taylor. I don't like Luisano Acuna between Beatty and McNeil. I don't know why. I just don't like it. I like Acuna in the lineup. Obviously, I would have rather put Taylor 8 and Acuna 9, and then with your 5, 6, and 7 being Alvarez, Beatty, and McNeil. I'd rather have that. But this is what the Mets and Mendoza has done. He's going to play the guys. He's going to use his bench. He's going to give guys playing time, and he's going to mix up the lineup. I don't think Acuna should be anywhere but the 9 spot, and I think Ben Taylor 8 and Acuna 9 is a great combination, but he's batting him 7. Brandon Nimmo has been almost a 0, not hitting well at all, and he's batting cleanup. One of the things I hate more than anything else in this lineup. Francisco Alvarez, a guy who swings at everything, has not adjusted enough to where I feel confident in him being a 5 guy. So your number 4 and number 5 is like, ooh, now you're really counting on Lindor, Soto, and Alonso to do everything. With no Vientos, Nimmo being a 0, and Alvarez being at best, there's a real issue here when it comes to the rest of the lineup. Now, again, maybe they'll surprise us. They are at home. Maybe it'll, get them going a little bit. We hope so, right? Because you shouldn't want nobody to fail in this lineup. You got the lineup. You want the team to succeed. So that's what you're going to hope for when it comes to, the Mets are, you want them to win, right? You don't care who does the job. You just want them to win. But again, if from 4, 5, 6, you're like, ooh, that's not a great lineup at all. You got Luisano Acuna, which I think he's in no man's land in this lineup in the 7th spot. It just doesn't make sense at all. Like, I don't like it at all. I guess they're trying to break up Acuna and Taylor between Beatty and McNeil to try to, spark something here. But I don't know. I just don't like it. And yeah, Brendan Nimmo is not a power hitter. He's not. But even if he's not a power hitter, the fact that he's in a big run producing part of the lineup is just idiotic to me. Like, they continue to do the same thing that hasn't worked in 2 years. Like, it just does not make sense to me with Brandon Nimmo being in a cleanup spot. And I know Brandon Nimmo is kind of like lost in this lineup because he's not a 4 hitter. He's not a 5 hitter. He's probably a 6 or 7 hitter at this point right now, the way he performs. And you're not putting them in the top 3 anywhere. So there's really nowhere to put him, but anywhere but cleanup makes more sense. I'd rather see Alvarez in a cleanup spot because at least there's a potential of him being, not going over the wall at least. I don't have no confidence in Brandon Nimmo hitting the ball over the wall because all he's going to do, because that's the only way Brandon Nimmo gets RBIs and gets runs scored, is by hitting the ball over the wall. If he doesn't do that, he's striking out. So that's what I don't like when it comes to Brandon Nimmo being in the cleanup spot. I think this project or, planned project that they've been trying to do with Brandon Nimmo over the last 2 seasons is just not working, and they don't seem like they're trying to change it, or the Mets are trying to change it, and Brandon Nimmo's being too stubborn to try to change back to his old, philosophy of hitting and his whole approach to hitting, and he just doesn't want to do it. Because I can't believe for the life of me that, I don't care if you're the hitting coach, I don't care if you're the manager, I don't care if you're the analytics coach, I don't care. There is not one person that should be sitting there and saying, you know what, Brandon Nimmo, keep on doing what you're doing. I find that very hard to believe because Pete Alonso changed his approach. You even seen Lindor late in May, changed his approach. Even though he went to the later spot, you've seen him change his approach a little bit more, trying to be more of an on-base guy, along with putting up good numbers. So I think they're telling these players to change their approaches if they're not working. I think it's up to the player at that point to change it. You can't always blame the coaches for the player not changing his approach. I think it's the stubbornness of a lot of these players. They think that it's working for them, and it's really not. I'm sorry. Brandon Nimmo should never be a 210 hitter with a couple of home runs. And what does he have? I think he has 21. He has a decent amount of RBIs, but again, the lack of putting the bat on the ball from Brandon Nimmo is just annoying to me, to be quite honest with you. So, Stephen HML, is Holmes any good? He's been good. I mean, there's no mistaking that. His numbers have been good. Now, I need him to get a little deeper into games. I need that length from Clay Holmes. And he's been pushing towards that. You could see him trying. Again, he has that long inning that kind of messes up his start. Again, not ERA wise, not giving up runs, which again is very good. But we keep on talking about it. In the Arizona series, 2 out of your 3 pitchers went 6 innings. Do you see the least amount of bullpen arms they've used in a series was the last series? It's because the fact that your last 2 starters went 6 innings. That is a big deal, especially when they had an off day yesterday. You give more guys rest, and now you got a full bullpen going into this Cubs series, which is exactly what you need against a very good hitting Cubs team. So Holmes has been good. I think he's still learning to be a starting pitcher. Now, I know that doesn't excite some people, but he's been good. But he has to be good and provide length as well. Like David Peterson in game 2, he didn't really have it in game 2. I mean, the offense never helped him really, but Peterson didn't have it. But when he didn't have it, he still pushed through 6 innings, and that was key. Now, the offense didn't help him, so the best that he could do was try to protect the bullpen, and he did that. So that's what I do like, the fact that Clay Holmes needs to give that length, and I think he will. I think you could see him gradually trying to get to that point. It's just he has that one inning where he throws 30 plus pitches, and it hurts his entire stat line, or not really stat line, but his game plan. Because I think the game plan is to go 5+ innings and try to get to that 6th inning. I think that's the ultimate goal around this time when it comes to Clay Holmes at this point. We're on start 8 or 9, 10 right now. I think the 9th start of the season. This is the time where you've built up your arm strength, right? You built up the stamina. This is a situation here when you're pitching. If you're pitching well, there should be no reason why the manager should be able to take you out of a ball game. So until they do that, again, we've seen it the last 2 times out with Senga and Peterson. Senga had a great start. Peterson had an okay start, but not great. But Peterson still pushed through the 6th inning, which was needed. And then Senga gave you 6 great innings. And it saved your bullpen over the next 2 nights, plus the off day. So it guaranteed you having your bullpen going into this Cubs series 100%. And that's what the Mets need in series like this, where you're playing one of the better offensive teams in baseball in the Chicago Cubs. And Eric D, look, Vientos has been terrible. And I get it. I'd rather see Vientos in this lineup. But there's something the Mets have not liked with Mark Vientos, and it's telling. Right? It's very telling that they would throw Beatty in there over Vientos. It's a very interesting lineup, to be quite honest with you. I'm not a big fan of this lineup, and I think it's more about the hitter placement in this lineup from 4 through 9. I don't necessarily like it. I think Acuna is in no man's land in the 7th hole. Tyrone Taylor has been really good. He's been, doing well with the bat, but I don't like Taylor in the 9 hole. I like Acuna in the 9 hole with Taylor batting 8th. But again, they're trying to split up the Alvarez, Beatty, and McNeil, because you can't have those 3 guys back to back, because it's going to look like a disaster, in my opinion. But Vientos hasn't shown anything, and you know what? This is a message. And you know what? I like that Mendoza is sending Vientos a message here, right? Mendoza has sent messages before. You got to perform, right? The approach with Vientos is exactly the approach that Pete Alonso had last year. Swinging at everything on the outside part or away from the plate on off-speed breaking ball pitches. And because he's been so aware of that pitch that he can't hit and been swinging at, he's the best pitch that he's able to hit, he's not hitting, and that's the fastball that he usually turns on and he usually crushes. He's not doing that because he's so aware of the breaking stuff that has been haunting him this whole season that he's been flailing on and been swinging at. That's a mindset. That is not him being the guy he was last year. It's a mindset. It's clearly the mindset, because if you continue to swing at the same pitches that have been making you become a bad hitter this year when you did the exact opposite last year, it's approach. Take your walk. Like, if they're going to continue to throw that pitch, that slider mostly outside, off the plate, on the outside corner, or even further off the plate, spit on it. Take your walk. I think that's been the problem with Mark Vientos. He's not taking that pitch. And if he's taking that pitch, he might get one pitch to hit in the at-bat, one of those fastballs that are letter high that he loves, that high fastball, and he can kill it. But because he's been so uber aware of those sliders that are so far outside the zone and flailing at him, he's become basically a zero. He has not been good. And I have no problem with Mendoza sending him a message. Now, I'm not saying that Brett Baty is going to come in and take the job and be like, oh, Brett Baty's here. Probably not. But it is a message to Mark Vientos. You got to get Mark Vientos right, because he is the prototypical cleanup hitter. Vientos is the key to the top four in your lineup. That's why the cleanup spot has been a complete zero for this Mets team. That's why you've seen Marte. That's why you've seen Nimmo. That's why you've seen Vientos tried there, but most of the time it's been Nimmo, because Vientos has not done his job. That has been the problem. If Vientos has been, even if he was above average, but not great, but not what he was last year, but above average, this lineup would be better. Your fourth and fifth guys for most of the season has been Brandon Nimmo and Mark Vientos. They've left the most men left on base on this team, both of these guys. That has been a big reason why the runners in scoring position has been terrible. It's mostly those two guys. Now, Soto hasn't been good. Lindor hasn't been good with runners in scoring position. Pete Alonso has been leading the pack. But Soto and Lindor right now are your 1 and 2 hitters. Pete Alonso, which he's been doing, is one of your biggest run producers. Your 4 hitter needs to be the other big run producer. They don't have that right now. Vientos was supposed to do that. So Mendoza's clearly sending a sign to Mark Vientos, get right. We're trying to push you along here, but at some point, you got to change things up. And with this lineup, who else are you putting out there? Are you going to continue to have Vientos completely fail? Or do you want to get him right? If you know what I think the Mets are doing, especially with the off day yesterday, I think they're trying to get him right. Maybe he's taking more swings in the batting cages. Maybe he's just working on something. And hopefully they're doing that and giving him the day off, giving him the mental day off when there's a game. It's a difference between having a scheduled off day and the players are off. Like, obviously, your mind's off the game. But when there's a game going on and you're sitting on the bench, mentally, you focus more on the game. You watch the game. And you sit there knowing that you should be out there, but you're not because you're not playing well. Sit there, watch the game, mentally give your mental brain a break. That's what a lot of these players need. And I think this is a good thing for at least for one game. Look, there's going to be a point in this game where the Mets are going to need a righty off the bench to take it at bat. There's a pretty good chance of that. He might pinch it for Baty. He might pinch it for McNeil in this game. If there's a tough righty on the mound or a tough lefty on the mound, you would throw Vientos in the game. Vientos is going to come into this game somehow, some way, probably to pinch hit. So there's going to be an important part of this game where they're going to throw a lefty probably for Baty, with McNeil in that 6, 8, and 8 spot, that's when Vientos is probably going to pinch hit. So he's probably going to get in that bat in this game, maybe 2. That's his opportunity. That's his opportunity. And again, you're going to pinch hit. You might be down a run. You might be tied. And it might be somebody on base. That's when he's going to get the opportunity to provide a big hit here. So that's what I think Mendoza is trying to do. He's trying to give him a mental break, but also be prepared if they throw a lefty sometime in the game, and he'll probably pinch it for Beatty or Jeff McNeil. And that's the opportunity that Mendoza is going to make sure he probably tries to get into. One, you give him a mental break during the game, and then you have him say, hey, listen, you're going to come in this game at some point. As soon as they throw that lefty out there in, let's say, the 6th or 7th inning or even later, you be ready. And sometimes it takes that little spark off the bench. And it doesn't have to be a home run. It could be a base hit that drives in the run, that drives in the tying run or the go-ahead run or that insurance run that can get Mark Vientos going. So I do like the fact that Mendoza is saying, all right, you're not playing well. Sit your ass down, watch the game, mentally prepare yourself for that at-bat that could come late in the game against a lefty. I think this is what Mendoza, look, he hasn't been great this year. I think bullpen management has a major still got some work to do with Carlos Mendoza. Some people haven't liked the lineup construction, but again, I don't know why people are getting mad that he's throwing anybody at this cleanup spot right now, because he's trying anything to get some production out of that 4-hole. When you're not getting no production out of that 4-hole, you can't keep on throwing the same guy out there. You can't. I mean, it's mostly been Nimmo, but you've seen he's tried Vientos a number of times, which he should, because that's supposed to be the guy in the cleanup spot. He's tried Marte. He even did McNeil once. Like, he's been trying to get somebody to get in that 4 spot and do some damage, right? I would try Alvarez. Try it. Who knows? But nobody's been doing the job. So for anybody who complains about the cleanup spot, and I'm not saying Marte is a cleanup hitter, but he was trying something out over, I think Marte has been a cleanup hitter 3 games, maybe 4. He's been trying something. And if you really look at it, the 4-hole, Marte has been the best of the bunch. And guess what? That's how bad it's been. So, yeah, but Lewis, they've dropped him in the order. They've dropped him 5th, 6th. He even batted 7th once. So he's been dropped in the order. He still hasn't been hitting. Like, you can want him in the lineup all you want, but he's been a 0. He's been 4 through 7 in this lineup already. It has not been good, no matter where you put him. It's the approach. It's the approach at the plate, and it's glaring what his problem is. His problem is flailing at that slider that is on the outside corner that is almost unhittable, that is even more outside the zone, and he still swings at it. That has been his problem. He's been vulnerable to that. And then when he gets the pitch to hit, which is the fastball letter high or right down the middle, he's been late on it, he's been missing it, and he's been fouling it off. So that means he's been late on it multiple times, a lot of the time this year, and that's the ball that he would not miss. That has been the style of approach he's brought to this season. This is something where he needs to – they're going to keep on throwing that slider until he lays off of it. That's why he has to lay off of it. And again, if a guy throws a great pitch 3-2 and it nicks the outside part of the plate, you tip your cap, right? You try to foul it off or you try to swing at it. It's just off the plate and you swing at it. It's a great pitch. You can't do anything about that. But you got to lay off that pitch at some point, especially the ones that are far outside that he's swinging at. Like, he's jumping. You can tell he's already swinging the bat before the ball is even thrown. That's how you know he's jumpy. That's how you know he's not comfortable at the plate. When you're struggling, you got to lay off of that. Even if you got to take a couple of walks, you're seeing the ball more, and he's seeing the pitch more. You're waiting. What Vientos needs to do is just pick apart in the zone. If it's middle in, if it's letter high in the middle of the zone, pinpoint that pitch and don't swing at anything else. I'm not saying, just have the bat in your shoulder and wait for that pitch. but be ready if that pitch is coming. That should be your bullseye right there. Right? That's what he needs to do. He needs to pinpoint, because what he's doing is that he's so afraid of that slider that he's ready. He's already looking outside. So when that pitch does come middle in or middle high, letter high in the middle of the zone, he's late on it. And that has been the problem. That just shows you that you're looking for that slider rather than looking for that fastball and adjusting to that slider. Until he does that, he's going to continue to be a zero, because he's been a zero. Make no mistake about it. Him and Nimmo have been the worst guys with runners in scoring position. And that's even worse than Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor with runners in scoring position. That has been the major problem, because Lindor, Soto, and Alonso, for the most part, have been getting on base a ton for those two guys in Vientos and Nimmo in that 4-5 spot. That has been the biggest reason why the runners in scoring position have been so bad. Because it's not the opportunities, it's the execution, it's the result of getting those runners in. Because the Mets have left a ton of men left on base this season. They had the opportunities. They're getting on base via walk, via hit. So the guys have been on base. When you constantly leave 9-10 men left on base a game, it's amazing that the Mets are 24-14. Like, let's be quite honest about that. It has been because of the offense. Now, it's been mostly the pitching. The pitching has been keeping them in games, which has been awesome. They needed it. But we still haven't seen that next level of this lineup when somebody, whoever, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Brett Beatty. I know it's funny to say, but I don't care if it's Brett Beatty. Figures it out on May 9th and starts crushing the ball, starts being a run producer, throw his ass in the cleanup spot. I don't care anybody. I don't care if it's McNeil. I don't care if it's Alvarez, Acuna, Taylor. I don't care. Whoever starts hitting, put that son of a bitch in that 4 spot, because it's been a zero for this team the entire season. And it's going to hurt you at some point while you have Juan Soto playing his best 10-11 game stretch of the season, batting .350, have a 1,300 OPS, has the most walks on the team in that stretch, has 4 home runs in that stretch. You got to start using the guys that have been doing well and getting on base and driving in the runs and doing their job. And then when you get to the 4 hole, it's like, well, what are you going to do? Yeah, but Lewis, I don't care about last year. Get last year out of your head. Last year is not helping Mark Vientos be a good hitter this year. Not at all, right? Pete Alonso was a zero last year for 162 games during the regular season. Why aren't we talking about Pete Alonso last year? You know why? Because last year doesn't matter. I don't care what Mark Vientos did in the playoffs last year. It was great, but it was last year. He's done nothing this year. That's what I care about. We can't live on the morals of last year. I think we're too focused on that. I don't care about last year. It was nice while it happened. It was awesome to see, but he has not taken that approach from last year to this year. No, for whatever reason, he's not doing it. So whatever he's doing now isn't working. Maybe he should watch a few videos from last year to see what his approach was and what he was doing right. It's game 39. Wake up. You've been a month into the season. Like, let's go. I honestly don't care about last year. But he does not need to be in a lineup. I'm sorry. He doesn't deserve to be in a lineup right now. And again, it's one game. Like, he's going to be a pinch hitter in this game. There's no doubt he's going to get in that bat in this game. Now, I don't know if maybe he's sick. Maybe there's discomfort somewhere because, he had a couple of injuries this year that kept him out of a few games, that groin. So maybe he's not in the lineup because of that. We don't really know. I'm not watching the pregame right now. That's going to start in a little bit, or, baseball night in New York. I don't know. I'm not listening to it. I haven't seen nothing on social media when I came live. So if you see something, yeah, Lewis, but here's the problem. You're wrong. Soto has done stuff this season. And again, has he been great? No. Your expectation is great Soto. That's it. Nothing in between. That's the problem with a lot of Met fans, right? Francisco Lindor has been just as bad with Juan Soto in runners in scoring position. So it's kind of a similar year between Lindor and Soto. They have done nothing as well with runners in scoring position. But guess what? Last time I checked, Francisco Lindor is your leadoff hitter and Juan Soto is your number 2 hitter. Regardless of their names, what they've done in the leadoff spot and the second in the 2-hole has been outstanding for what they have done while struggling. We forget what a number 2 hitter is. I don't care about new analytics and what the 2 hitter is supposed to be nowadays. The Mets lineup is the prototypical old school type of lineup. It's a really good leadoff hitter. Your number 2 hitter, you can't have a better number 2 hitter. Because what Juan Soto, even though he has not hit, even though he has over the last 11 games, he's batting .350, 1,300 OPS, a ton of walks, 4 home runs. He's been outstanding over this about a week and a half of games. That's a great sign. This is his best stretch as a New York Met. But even when he wasn't hitting, guess what he was doing the most of? Getting on base, mostly walking. Right? I know that doesn't excite people, but why do you think Pete Alonso has all those RBIs? Big reason was because Juan Soto has been on base for the majority of them. So he's been doing his job as a number 2 hitter. Has he been doing his job as one of the better hitters in the lineup? No. But he's been productive for what he's been doing when he's been struggling with the bat. But he hasn't been struggling with the bat over the last 10, 11 games. That is not a fact. That you're saying that he has not been good this season. That's not true. Has he been to the caliber or to the level that we all expect him to be? No. But he's been a lot better than what people are giving him credit for. And again, he needs to be better. Make no mistake about it. He's been better. He needs to be better. Yeah, Lewis, I don't think it's the spot in the lineup that Vientos is going to change. It's the approach. Like, it really is. I don't think – I think what the leadoff spot did to Lindor was to help him change his approach. I don't think the 2-hole is going to change the approach for Mark Vientos because he's a power guy. I just think it's just a lay off a pitch. It's not a a kind of a complete change of approach. It's something that should be easily done at the plate. Like, he's just jumpy at the plate. And I don't think in the 2-hole is going to change that. Now, maybe it could. And again, would I be against it if Mendoza does it? Absolutely not. But why are you going to mess with something that has been the best part of your team in your 1, 2, and 3 hitter? That has been the only production, for the most part, that has been the dominant force of your lineup, even though it's not at the level that you want it to be. Your top 3 has been the best part of this team. And yes, it should be. But why break up something? Because if Vientos doesn't hit, now you're breaking up that 1, 2, and 3 with a complete 0. So I don't want to do that because they've been rolling. They've been the best part of this team. The big reason why they're 24-14 because your 1, 2, and 3 hitter has been actually the most productive, even though it hasn't been great with runners in scoring position. They've been doing their job at where they are in their position in the lineup. Lindor has been getting on base. Soto has been getting on base for who? The best hitter in your lineup right now in Pete Alonso and your biggest run producer. So it's, again, they've tried almost everybody in a cleanup spot. That has been the 0. Like, sometimes you got to sit in the batting cage and have them throw 100 sliders and try to watch that pitch, watch that spin, lay off that pitch. There's too many guys, and anytime these guys struggle, especially the younger kids, when they struggle, they look breaking ball and adjust to the fastball. Do you know how stupid that is in baseball? I don't care if you're 40 years old, 25 years old, 50 years old, or 70 years old. You never adjust to a fastball. You look fastball, adjust to the breaking stuff and the off-speed pitches. That's baseball 101. Like, I don't understand the approach. Like, I don't I don't even think it's analytical. I think it's the fact that these hitters think they can hit anything and they just swing at anything. There's no balance at the plate with a guy like Vientos. Brandon Nimmo, it should be your leadoff hitter or your number 2 hitter, but he changed his approach. That's another thing. Brandon Nimmo was one of your best hitters. He was the guy that when you needed a hit, you didn't want nobody else up than Brandon Nimmo. Now, I don't want Brandon Nimmo even in this lineup. That's how terrible he's been. He's an average player, barely. He's not a great defender anymore. His legs are shot. He tries to hit home runs. His strikeouts are up. His walks are down. His average is way down. And there's your 4 and 5 hitters in your lineup that have been complete zeros. So let's see somebody change their approach. Because how is it going to get better if you don't change your approach? If the same thing has been happening for the first 35, 37 starts of the season, and you're batting barely 200, you have a couple of home runs, the RBIs are embarrassing, this is where Vientos needs to change his approach. Something is not working. Now, I don't know why he's not in the lineup today. I haven't seen anything before I went live saying that Vientos is sick, because I know there was a flu going around the Mets clubhouse the last week or so. People have been sick. I don't know if Vientos is sick. I don't know if the groin is acting up or something else is acting up, and that's why he's not in the lineup. Or Mendoza says you need a mental day while we're playing. And that has something that Mendoza has done his first year as a manager. When he sees a guy struggling, he sits him down during a game, gives him a rest day, but be prepared to pinch hit when called upon. I think this is a great approach. This is the last attempt to get Vientos right before you do something drastic. And what do I mean by that? There's a possibility that the Mets could send down Mark Vientos because it's not a demotion. It's getting him right. And you know what? There's been players way better than Mark Vientos that has been sent down to get their swing right. It's not a demotion. And oh, by the way, Vientos has options left. So that could be a possibility. And you know what? Ronnie Mauricio is not too far away. Couple of weeks, maybe even 2 weeks. He might be ready to go. So I wouldn't hesitate for a second to get Vientos down to the minors, get his swing right while Mauricio is here and keep Beatty up here. Because Beatty don't have no more options. Until Vientos figures it out, maybe 2 weeks, let's say about 30 at-bats in the minors, getting that swing right, making sure his approach at the plate is better. And then, you know what? Beatty's still not doing anything. Vientos comes back up, and now you got Ronnie Mauricio and Vientos, 2 guys that can be your DH or your third baseman at any given day. I like that situation. But until Vientos figures it out, it's hard to keep on putting them in that same spot. So we'll see. We will definitely see. Elvin, leave Nimmo alone. No, he sucked for 2 years now. He has not been good since 2023. Like, that's a problem. It's really a problem. And look, I know a lot of people have a weak spot for Nimmo. You know why? Because he smiles, and even when he's broken down, he still hustles on every play, which I appreciate. But when you suck, you suck. Like we all have a soft spot for Nimmo. Nimmo is the guy that you always root for because he always hustles and he always smiles. And he is one of the leaders of this team. But you're not going to not get criticized because you're a nice guy. Like, no, sorry. You get paid to play baseball. You get paid a hell of a lot of money. Just remember, guys, not too long ago, the Mets gave him a huge contract to play center field. That stopped halfway through that first season of his new contract. So you paid him center field salary to now be a left fielder barely, and you're basically a DH. Like that's where Nimmo is within 3 years of a new contract. Like that's where we are with Brandon Nimmo. And we still got 5 more years in his contract? I can't wait for that. So it's again, I love the Brandon Nimmo hustling and he puts his body on the line every single time. So I never question that. But when you suck, you suck. You're a hitter. You used to be a hitter that everybody wanted at the plate in a big spot because you did the job. You're not right now at all. Nimmo should be batting 7th or 8th in this lineup. That's how bad he's been. Like, I push everybody up. Push up Acuna, push up Taylor. They've been hitting. But Acuna is not your run producer. Taylor is not a run producer. Acuna is your table setter. He's the guy that gets on base, steals that base, gets in scoring position. That's what Acuna does. Acuna's not a big run producer. He probably might not never be a big run producer. But that's okay. You could be a really damn good player and be a table setter. That's perfectly fine. I wouldn't be shocked in a couple of years, maybe even next year or the year after, he's going to be a typical leadoff hitter. And Lindor is going to probably have to bat second. Like, it's going to happen at some point. You can't leave Acuna in the 9-hole forever. I think he's going to be a number one. I know he could be even a number 2 hitter. You can always do that and move down Soto and push down Alonso and all that. And Stanley, but overall, I think somebody just has to step up in this lineup other than the top 3. Who will it be? Your guess is as good as mine. And Stanley, and I'm trying to click on the comments. It's not working, so I do apologize. So follow along if you can. Stanley, I'm not saying I would not take Vientos over Beatty. I think we all would. But Vientos has been terrible. And you can't keep on throwing him out there and going through the motions, acting like it's just going to happen one day. He hasn't. The approach has not changed for the entire season. Now, do I want to see Brett Beatty playing third every single day? No, I do not. But Vientos has been terrible. He hasn't been good defensively. He's been making mistakes on the field, and his bat has been terrible. At the very least, Brett Beatty's glove actually has been good, either at second or third, which has been shocking to me, but he's actually played better defensively than Mark Vientos. I don't think I would ever say that words out of my mouth again. But that has been the case. Vientos, not just at the plate, but even with the glove, has had problems this year. So I like the fact. Now, again, I don't know if Vientos is sick or he's dealing with something injury-wise, and that's why he's out of the lineup. But if it is just sitting his ass down to give him a mental break, I love it. Because he's going to get the at-bat sometime during this game. If the game is close, he's going to pinch hit for Beatty or McNeil in this lineup. At some point, the Cubs are going to throw a lefty in his bullpen, depending on if it's a close game. That's when Vientos is going to come up. And you hope you hit lightning in a bottle. You give him that mental rest. You let him watch the game, but be prepared to hit. That's what I think Mendoza is trying to do. Yes, 100%. Like Kyle Tucker couldn't come quick enough. Now, where he's going to play, I mean, I don't care. You can, I don't know. Let him pitch. I can care less. Get him on this team. It's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting for sure. With that Kyle Tucker free agency. It's going to be a lot of fun watching that. Now, I don't think the Mets are going to be, falling all over themselves to get him, but, I mean, damn. I mean, I know Kyle Tucker is mostly first base corner outfielder, but, man, would I throw him in center field in a heartbeat? Oh, my Lord, I do that in a heartbeat. But that's next year. We can't worry about right now when it comes to that. VJ, Acuna does give flashbacks of Jose Reyes for sure. Just his pure speed is just amazing. Now, I don't think he's ever going to be the hitter that Jose Reyes was. But, again, that is not a detriment to Luis Angel Acuna. I think Acuna can be a very good player, but not being at the level that Jose Reyes was. Because Jose Reyes was a 290 hitter. I know Acuna's hitting 300 right now. I don't know if he's going to be that 290 guy. I do think he's going to level off to like a 260, 270 hitter, Luis Angel Acuna. But again, nowadays, 260, 270 is like batting 300. So I think he's going to be that guy. I think he needs to work on taking more walks, which he's doing better with the strikeout to walk ratio than he wasn't earlier in the season. But he needs to be more selective in his at-bats. And again, he's batting 300 right now, so there's nothing to really kill. But if he can limit those strikeouts a little bit more and have a little bit more walks, because he gets on base, he's stealing second base. Like, that's a guarantee. So, let's go. But yeah, he does remind me on the base path of Jose Reyes, which is great. Yeah, so Stefan, again, the Cubs offense, I talked about this right in the beginning of the show. When it comes to the Cubs offense, they've been great. They've scored, I think they scored the second most runs, if not I think it's the second most runs in baseball this year. That's all they do is score runs. Their pitching has been pretty decent, but their offense has been what's been carrying them. And again, with Tucker, with Suzuki, with Pete Crow Armstrong, even with Happ, it's a damn good lineup. So you're not going to get a lot of breaks in this lineup. So this is where Clay Holmes comes in and needs to settle down, especially when he gets in those situations where he has those long innings. You got to try to avoid those long innings. Holmes, even though he's been very good, his problem has been the walks. He starts walking guys, he gets into trouble. He gets that long inning that completely messes up him going deeper into ball games, and it affects the rest of the game because you got to use a lot more bullpen. This is where the New York Mets, Clay Holmes, needs to try to avoid that. Limit those walks because this team will make you pay if you walk guys. You got to be careful with those walks. Clay Holmes otherwise have been good. His ERA is very good, but the lack of length and the walks have been the detriment of Clay Holmes. Now, the lack of depth of going deeper into games and length, I hope it's only because he's learning to be a starting pitcher, but this is 9, 10? Your arm's stretched out. Even if you don't have your best stuff, fight through 5+ innings. Try to get to that 6th inning because you see what it did to your bullpen when you give that length in Game 2 of the Arizona series and Game 3 of the Arizona series. When even though Peterson wasn't great, he still pushed through that 6th inning, which helped that bullpen not using 4, 5, 6 guys. And then the next day, Sanger did the same thing, saved your bullpen, and then you had an off day yesterday, so you have a very rested bullpen going into this Cub series at home. So Clay Holmes got to limit the walks. And if he does that, his pitch count might be a little lower. He might go into that fifth inning trying to push through to that 6th inning, which would be great. And we'll see if he can do that against a very good Cubs lineup that has been producing runs all over the place. When it comes to Jameson Taillon, he has a 3.85 ERA, if I'm not mistaken. I think I checked it earlier. He has a 3.86 ERA. Hasn't been terrible. Hasn't been great. Kind of that above average type of pitcher. But Jameson Taillon has shut down the Mets before. He's been solid against the Mets. But he's not great. This is a situation here where you got to jump on him early. Because once he gets into a groove, you're not going to hit him. That's what Jameson Taillon has been. Hasn't been great. Hasn't been bad. He's kind of that in between. You're at home. The Mets have played great at home. Jump on him. Smack him in the mouth. This is one of the better teams in baseball. This is the next big test for the New York Mets. It was the Phillies early on in the season. The Mets passed that test with flying colors, sweeping the Phillies. Now you got the Cubs at home. Once again, a good team, really good team. This is another big test and big opportunity for the Mets to show their strength in the National League. They are one of the better teams in baseball in the National League, in the New York Mets and the Chicago Cubs. This is where, and again, these are so crucial. Now, the Cubs are probably going to win a division, but they're not running away with it right now. Milwaukee's kind of hovering around there. But you got to win these games in the National League. Because as good as the Mets have been, the Phillies are right on our back 2 games behind us. So these games are going to matter, especially if you get into a situation where you might be slipping away from that division and you got to worry about the wild card now. So these games are so crucial to win, especially in the National League, when the margin of error, when it comes to records, are this thin in the National League. Like, you can have 95 wins in this league, and there's a possibility you might be a 3rd wild card team. Like, that's how crazy this league can be right now in the National League. And you might be 93-win team and not make the playoffs. It's so close, so thin of margin when it comes to these National League teams that are at the top level. I would say about 7 teams right now. Most of them are in the West. There's one in the Central, and obviously the Phillies and the Mets. There's like 6 or 7 teams right now. So right now, the margin of error is so thin that you got to be careful. And we're going to see. Dolo, it's crazy, right? Like, it's nuts. Well, Sal, look, would I want to sweep the Cubs? Hell yeah. That would make me feel really good. Make a lot of us feel really good. Post games will be fun. But win a series. You win series. Again, if you consistently win series, you're way above that 90 win total. If you win most of your series. Mets have lost a couple of series this year, 2 to be exact, out of a month and 10 days of the season. A little more than a month and 2 weeks. So they've been great winning series. That's what they need to do. They split against the Nationals. So win the series, right? Everybody wants a sweep. That would be great. I'd be pumped against a very good Cubs team. But if you win a series, move on to the next series. You know, when you face a team like the Pirates who just fired their manager, that's a team you need to beat up on. That's a team where you better win 2 out of 3, but it would be nice to sweep them. When it comes to a Cubs team, listen, I hope they sweep them. That just shows the Mets' strength in the National League, but you got to win a series here. I'm not going to get greedy until we win the first 2. When we win the first 2, now I'm getting greedy. Like, I'm not going to be satisfied if they lose that game. I'd be annoyed. But let's get it done today. Once again, guys, Clay Holmes on the mound for the New York Mets. Jamison Tyone for the Chicago Cubs. The Mets lineup today is Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Alvarez, Beatty, Acuna, McNeil, and Taylor. The Mets are wearing their black jerseys tonight on a blackout Friday. Back home where they belong. They've been outstanding at home. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're 13-3 at home this year. They've dominated they're dominant at home right now. It's a weekend series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be packed at Citfield. Now, I know there's rain in the forecast. If I'm not mistaken, I forgot who said it in the chat. Again, I don't live in New York anymore, but it looks like there's some showers that can possibly roll through. It's going to be big crowds on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Citfield. So the crowd's going to be pumped. The crowd's going to be loud. They've been averaging over 30,000 fans at Citfield. It's going to be jumping tonight, guys. So let's go, Mets. Enjoy the game, guys. There won't be a post game today. I do apologize. I do got to go to work. So I won't be able to do a post game. Probably can't do a post game tomorrow, but I will be doing a pregame tomorrow over the next couple of days. Sunday will be a pre and post for the Cubs series finale. But I won't be doing a post game the next 2 nights. I do apologize for that. But let's go, Mets. Win this series. Start with today with Clay Holmes on the mound. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go, Mets. Thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Have a good night. And it is Clay Holmes hockey jersey night. Yes. Lewis, have a good day, guys. Have a good day, guys. Let's go.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire misunderstood.